Okay, yesterday we talked about complex and imaginary numbers. So remember, the square root of -1 is equal to I. So anytime you see I, you should think square root -1. Okay? Now, if we're looking at this complex number here, A is the real part. And BI is our imaginary part. Again, that would be whatever number B is times the square root of I. Okay? We always want to write it in this form. We have to have the real part first, plus or minus whatever the imaginary part is. It has to be written like that every single time. And the important thing to remember is you cannot combine a real number with an imaginary number when you're adding and subtracting. Okay? You can treat the I like an X. If I gave you 3 plus 2x, you wouldn't add those together, right? You'd say that that is as simplified as it can be. The answer is 3 plus 2x. Same thing as 3 plus 2i. You cannot combine those. So let's look at some examples. This first one here, we have -2 plus 4i plus 3 minus 11i. So we're going to add the two constants together to the two real parts. We can combine those, and it's a plus sign. So -2 plus 3 gives us 1. And then we can combine the imaginary parts. So we have positive 4i plus -11i, which is going to give us -7i. And that is your answer. Right? So number 2, we have 6 minus 2i plus 4 plus 7i. Again, we're adding, so it's 6 plus 4, which gives us 10. And then we have -2i plus 7i, which gives us positive 5i. And that would be our answer. This last one's going to look a little bit different. We have 8 plus -8, which would give us 0. Then we have -5 plus positive 5, which gives us 0i. So 0 plus 0i is just going to equal 0. Because 0 times anything is 0, including 0 times I. All right, the next few have subtraction signs, so we got to make sure we're subtracting instead of adding, right? We have to subtract both terms there, not just the first ones. So we have our real part minus the other real part. So 4 minus 5, which gives us -1, and -I minus positive 8i. So remember, that's -1, put an invisible 1 there. So -1i minus 8i gives us -9i. Okay. Now number 5, we have our real part, which is 5 minus 3, which gives us 2. And then our imaginary part is 2i minus 7i, which is going to give us -5i. Now let's look at this one. We have 2 minus -3. When you have minus and negative, remember, that just becomes a big plus, which we get 5. And then we have I minus -6, which again becomes plus. So we have plus 7i. Okay, so that is how you add and subtract with complex numbers. Super easy. You just add or subtract the real parts and add or subtract the imaginary parts together. Now, again, remember that I is equal to the square root of -1. Therefore, I squared would be equal to what? Think about it, see if you can figure it out. We have I squared. Well, we can replace that I with the square root of -1 squared. What happens with a square root and a square? They cancel each other out. So all we're left with is -1. So anytime we see I squared, we have to change it to -1. Okay, it becomes a real number when we square I. Okay, so we're going to be talking about multiplying complex numbers together and imaginary numbers. And you can multiply real and imaginary numbers together. So let's look. We have 2i times 3 minus 5i. So what we need to do is distribute that 2i to both terms. So we have 2i times 3, which gives us 6i. 2i times -5i, which gives us -10i squared. Sorry, 10i squared, right? Because I times I gives us I squared. Just like if that was 2x times -5x, you would have -10x squared. But this time we have I squared. We just said anytime we see I squared, we have to change it to a -1. So we can keep simplifying. We get 6i plus 10 now. And then we have to write it in the right form, which would be 10 plus 6i. Okay, well, let's do the same thing here. We're going to distribute. So we have -3i times 5, which gives us -15i. And then -3i times 9i, which gives us -27i squared. And again, I squared always becomes -1. So we have -15i plus 27, which then we have to write in the right order. So we have 27 minus 15i. Right? A few more examples. 5 times 3 gives us 15. And 5 times 6i gives us 30i. There's nothing else we can do with that one. We are done. Well, now what if we have two complex numbers multiplying together? Okay, we have to FOIL it just like we would if it was an x in there. So you do 5 times 4, which gives us 20. 5 times -3i is -15i. -6i times 4 gives us -24i. And -6i times -3i gives us positive 18i squared. So we can bring down our 20, and then we can combine our -15i and our -24i. That becomes -39i. And then the I squared becomes -1. So we have 18 times -1. So we have 20 minus 39i minus 18. Well, now we have two real numbers that we can combine. So 20 minus 18 gives us 2 minus 39i. So I want you to give these last two a try on your own. So hit pause, try them on your own, and then come back and watch me do it. Okay, so -3 times 2 gives us -6. -3 times -5i gives us positive 15i. 2i times 2 gives us positive 4i. And 2i times negative 5i gives us negative 10i squared. So we can combine our middle terms here. So negative 15i plus 4i gives us positive 19i. And then, of course, we can change our I squared to a negative 1. So we have negative 6 plus 19i plus 10. We combine our real terms together, and we get 4 plus 19i. All right, last one, we do 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative 4i is negative 4i. 4i times 1 is positive 4i. And 4i times negative 4i is negative 16i squared. So bring down our constant there in the front, our real number, excuse me. Now negative 4i plus 4i cancels out to 0i, so they cancel each other out. And we have minus 16 times negative 1. So we have 1 plus 16, which is 17. And that's it. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about division with complex numbers.